Well, the situation between Russia and the United States just got that much more complicated and not as perfectly represented by this little cartoon. Yep, as of course we're left off at no meeting that hasn't taken place between Russia and Ukraine and the United States of America, as now Tulsi Gabbard is making some very interesting moves as the head of DNI, not sharing intelligence about how the peace talks are going with our, quote, alleged allies, which I would argue have been trying to sabotage the deal, as some would argue that they have already been successful when it came to undermining the deal here, which looks like hasn't been made, as now we could expect some major fireworks to go off in this proxy theater of war that sadly I only see kind of expanding from here. Now, Ukraine had its own kind of Independence Day, which, by the way, Russia decided to, from the reports that we're getting, actually respect, as we're seeing some sign of cooperation. But, as you're going to see from the Russian foreign minister, we're very far away from any kind of deal, from even any kind of meeting taking place between all of these important partners in this conflict, as now the Russians are saying, well, we got to get rid of one person here in order to make sure that there's going to be a deal being made here. We're going to be talking about that and a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. And if you appreciate these type of foreign policy, deep dive down the rabbit hole type of conversations that talk about the bigger picture and perspective of what's happening here and what will be happening here, subscribe, click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you spend with us. As Tulsi Gabbard just announced how she's launching ODNI 2.0. As she's talking about how she's going to be, quote, cutting bloated bureaucracy, rooting out the deep state actors that I would say have been a major vocal point when it comes to prolonging, expanding, and I would even say starting this foreign war of proxy aggression that's now happening between the East and the West, as she's talking about restoring mission focus. And clearly, out of this administration, I think she's one of the most kind of bright stars that clearly has, according to a lot of the back channels, according to a lot of the kind of conversations, been pushing for the most type of radical changes and implementation of policies that actually represent the MAGA brand here, that a lot of people are very happy to have her in this specific key role here. As when she's talking about the deep state actors, she's talking about all the warmongers that she, throughout her career, has been fighting against, that have been attacking her. As now, CBS News is reporting that Gabbard, head of DNI, is barring intelligence sharing on Russia-Ukraine negotiations with the Five Eyes partners. Now, the Five Eyes partners are this kind of U.S., U.K., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand intelligence sharing force. As of course, in a lot of these countries, especially here in the United States, it's illegal to spy on Americans. But if another country does it and provides us the data, it's the runaround here. We're going to share all this data on everybody to keep us safe. In reality, it's just a total information awareness database, Palantir type of system that I would say has a lot of implications against civil liberties, personal rights, as now the Russian and Ukraine war rages on. What I see happening here from now out, right before winter, I see a major Russian offensive. I think it's pretty clear. That's going to happen now. Expect that to happen anytime soon, as the Russians are having some breakaway type of victories in the territory of the Donbass region. And you could expect those to continue to happen here, as the Ukrainians are dealing with a major shortage of manpower here. And we just keep seeing video after video of people being forcibly conscripted, and it is crazy. But Tulsi Gabbard just recently issued a directive to the U.S. intelligence community ordering them that all information regarding Russia and Ukraine peace negotiations should not be shared with U.S. allied intelligence partners. Now, why is that? Why did she do that now? Because she probably caught some of them back-channeling, sabotaging, and going to Zelensky, going to the European Union leaders and saying, hey, Trump wants to do this. This is where they're at. This is how we sabotage and continue the war here. As there's a lot of third parties here that want to continue to use Ukraine as the proxy for them to launch the war that they don't want to fight themselves. And they're like, oh, yeah, the Ukrainian people do it. We'll just give them the weapons. We'll just sacrifice a whole bunch of Slavic people. Let's go on. Let's get them out on the front lines. As I think that is an absolutely ridiculous, horrible notion that truly is sparing the lives of all these young Slavic men in ways that are just absolutely freaking horrible. Now, listen, let's just be honest with ourselves. These negotiations, these latest negotiations, didn't really work out here, as even Donald Trump admitted himself with this latest statement before playing this statement, and a lot more, though. We wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. It's our shop. I'm just going to do this really quickly. We got a lot of great bundles for him, for her, for your immune system, for your brain. And again, this is just the easiest way to save a bunch of money. I mean, some of these things are worth like $111. You could get it for $98. This is our brain and body bundle, which I cannot recommend enough. It has two fish oils made from small fish and creatine, an extremely powerful neurotropic. And again, you save a bunch of money just by getting them right now. So take this opportunity, take this chance, get them while supplies last. Last time we ran out of it, it wasn't nice because a lot of people wanted it. A lot of people were hooked, and like we just didn't have it. So they do sell out pretty fast. Get them while supplies last. wearechange.shop and get yourself into a new plane of existence that is only possible through supplementation and you taking care of yourself. Now, let's get back here to the latest Donald Trump comments, which I think are important here. As even Donald Trump admitted, hey, this war is a war of personalities. And that's a shame. That's a big shame. Personalities, why? Like, we're fighting this war over ego, over pride. Like, people are losing their lives because of hard-headedness. Yeah, that right there. If you're fighting on the front lines, you're like, wait. This could be over if someone just, like, decides to, like, let their ego slide here. And, like, it's like I'm fighting for someone's own personal validation. That's what's happening, according to Donald Trump, who just said this.
Russia and Ukraine, but that turns out to be some big personality conflicts. It's one of those things, but we're going to get that stopped eventually. We're going to get that stopped too.
We're going to get that stopped eventually. So far, eventually. It's not like, hey, the rhetoric changed. The rhetoric was like, we're very close. We're going to get this done. Now it's like, eventually, sometime in the near future. The check's in the mail. Don't worry. Everything's hunky-dory. Everything's fine. And I'm like, listen, there's going to be major escalations here. As Donald Trump even went on Truth Social a couple days ago and said, it's not fair that the Ukrainians can't have offensive maneuvers here. I would say that the Ukrainians have had a lot of offensive maneuvers here, but according to Donald Trump, they had no offensive maneuvers, and that the offensive maneuvers will now be starting, and it looks like Donald Trump is starting on that. As we have reporting that he just signed an $850 million arms deal that gives Ukraine 3,350 extended range attack munition air-launched missiles for Ukraine. That's going to be delivered in 6 weeks that are, quote, mostly going to be bankrolled by Europe. They have a range of 150 to 280 miles. As we're also hearing that Kiev won't be able to fire them without the Pentagon green lighting this. And this is the type of kind of threat that Donald Trump has been kind of issuing against Vladimir Putin, saying, hey, listen, we could target Moscow, right? Look at these munition systems. They fly in a perfect range and they could land in Moscow. And I think that's going to be the leverage point that Donald Trump is going to be using against the Russians. As it was previously reported that the Pentagon blocked Ukraine from using long-range missile systems against Russia for months. Now, that there was at least one attempt to hit Russian territory that was denied, but the Ukrainians have been launching drones against Moscow multiple times, though. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. As the Pentagon has, quote, quietly blocked Ukraine's long-range missile systems. Well, quietly is weird way of saying that they've been doing it, because they have been doing it. Now, Zelensky now, who looks more emboldened than ever, with his kind of war munition pipeline being secured by NATO and the United States, came out and now looks like he is going after Hungary. Hungary, who still is getting Russia's oil through a pipeline that they bombed. Yes, Zelensky is now bombing the Hungarian pipeline, and now talking about how this is what Zelensky had to say. We have always supported friendship between Ukraine and Hungary, and now the existence of our friendship depends on Hungary's position. Hungary's position of saying, hey, we have an oil pipeline coming from Russia, and the Ukrainians keep bombing it, creating a very awkward type of situation here where people are like, wait, what the hell's going on here? Is the Hungarian foreign minister is pissed, and they're saying, what the hell's going on here? And some people are saying, why won't we declare NATO Article 5 since a NATO country infrastructure is being attacked? As Zelensky, during his national holiday, threatened Hungary. And this is type of weird here, because it's a very weird type of situation. He's threatening their gas supply to their country that they're dependent on. So a very awkward type of situation here. Zelensky also declared that Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk will all be back in Ukrainian territory, as it looks like he walked back all of the concessions that he was previously willing to make before. Now, he did kind of flip-flop a lot of the time, saying, no, I'm not going to give up land. No, the Ukrainian constitution forgives us giving land. And then he said, okay, I'm willing to give up some land. There was some kind of hope for the negotiations. And now he's saying, nope, we're going to take everything back, including Crimea. We're going to take Donetsk, Luhansk, Crimea. It's going to be ours. No more concessions. War. We're going to fight, and we're going to get it back. A lot of people are saying, that's going to be very difficult to do. It's going to be very tough to do, as the Russians have extended their kind of defense fortifications for an extremely long time in this particular conflict. And right now, the Russian foreign minister, Lavrov, is coming out and saying, yeah, they're saying this. You know what? We're going to say Zelensky is legitimate. And this is what the Russian foreign minister came out and just declared a few moments ago.
So
Okay,
yes,
Mr. Foreign Minister,
he is ready to
moving.
meet.
Let's keep moving.
But no, we cannot meet just for him to have a picture and to say that now I am legitimate. Legitimacy is another matter, because irrespective of when this meeting might take place, and it must be very well prepared, the issue of who is going to sign the deal on Ukrainian side is a very serious
So you're
issue.
saying you don't see President Zelensky as the legitimate leader of Ukraine? President Putin doesn't recognize him as the legitimate leader of Ukraine?
No, we recognize him as de facto head of the regime. And in this capacity, we are ready to meet with him. But when it comes to signing legal documents, now you want to have the entire picture, just part of it, which suits you. When we come to a stage when you have to sign documents, we would need a very clear understanding by everybody that the person who is signing is legitimate. And according to the Ukrainian constitution, Mr. Zelensky is not at the moment.
Now, he's talking about this because this is one of the reasons why The Russians are saying, we're not going to meet with Zelensky. One, it's fears of Putin getting assassinated. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is they're saying, no, Ukraine is a terrorist state. They acted against our citizens. We do not recognize terrorists, which Vladimir Putin said publicly. Now, I'm not saying that's a legitimate argument. I'm saying that's their argument. And now the foreign minister is saying, yeah, they didn't have they didn't have an election. Trump even kind of poked fun at Zelensky, saying, "Oh, you have a war, you don't have an election. Oh, I like that idea. Maybe I could do that here too. Saying I could stay in power forever." And everyone saw that as a major jab against Zelensky. I thought this interaction was also very interesting from NBC News. That was pretty eye-opening here to this situation.
So bottom line, there's no meeting planned.
President Putin said clearly that he is ready to meet, provided this meeting is really going to have an agenda, presidential agenda.
So that's a big if. There's no meeting planned, Mr. Foreign Minister. That's a big if. You're saying there's no meeting planned right now.
Kristen, I am awfully sorry, you're not listening. There is no meeting planned, and I'm not challenging this. But you cannot, I think, understand what I am saying. Putin is ready to meet with Zelensky when the agenda would be ready for a summit. And this agenda is not ready at all.
Now, the agenda is the deal. A deal that's going to bring in lasting peace here, as they're having difficulties figuring out those details. Now, am I happy that Donald Trump is doing these meetings? Absolutely, 110%. Am I happy that he's going to be now giving more weapons? No, because that means that Zelensky is more emboldened here, and it looks like from his comments, especially during the Ukrainian Independence Day, which it looks like the Russians gave grace to, according to the reports, saying that they didn't bomb a lot of their cities during that. There's still war on the front lines, especially in the Donbass region, but it looks like a lot of the major kind of bombing and drone campaigns that the Russians routinely did on the Ukrainians weren't conducted on their Independence Day. There's also a lot of other factors here, as now India just came out and said, you know what, yeah, we're going to continue buying that Russian oil, despite Trump's threats here and 50% tariffs. Now there's even more upheaval between Hungary, NATO, and Ukraine. Now, when we look at all these energy resources that are kind of stagnant, that are not flowing, this does have bigger kind of economic impacts here. Now, listen, the longer that this war kind of goes on, especially when it comes to the dead man switches, especially when it comes to all of these type of kind of conversations, we got to understand here, there's a lot at stake here, including mutual assured destruction. And when we see these type of negotiations not work, we see, even though it's a small chance, us being brought closer to the potential type of major foreign conflict that I think we should be doing everything in our power right now in order to stop and try to prevent. Now, the fact that efforts to try to stall and stop that haven't been made here, the fact that there were a lot of underhanded efforts here that I think were working behind the scenes, especially behind a lot of these other foreign intelligence services that really love this war. I think we need to understand here that we're in a situation, in a predicament here, where the war is going to be the continued constant. And with that comes very dangerous escalations. That comes severe economic ramifications. That comes with a lot of instability. Listen, I said if Donald Trump is able to be successful here, he should get the peace prize because it's a very complicated, convoluted piece here. One of the things that they're having hangups on is how they're going to deal with this deal when it comes to preventing it from starting up again. Now, the United States is saying, no. At first, they were like, we'll put our troops there. Russia's like, no. Then they're like, okay, Europeans are going to put our troops there. We're going to have our planes there. Russia's like, no, we don't want American Western forces on our border. Can we please not do that? And I thought that was a bad idea too, because that was a situation that's kind of ripe for a false flag. It needs to be a type of third party that isn't too swayed or too biased here, that will create some kind of buffer zone. Who's going to be that third party? Some people are looking at China. as of course China has their own kind of ambitions and military type of initiatives that they're going to be looking at to take advantage of during this type of unstable situation. Another situation that, of course, now is a major stalemate is the kind of land exchange here. Because Ukraine was like, oh, we're open to it. And then it's like, nope, we're not. Nope, not giving up an inch. We're going to take it all back. That's going to be a big endeavor here. Expect a major Russian offensive soon, within the next few weeks, right before winter begins. And listen, the situation, it's just going to be war from now on. And I think that's ridiculous. And if you agree, share this video. I think world leaders need my brain and body bundle for critical thinking here, because otherwise we're being led astray here in very negative, bad situations and consequences. And it's the doing of foreign governments and foreign intelligence services that are preventing us from achieving peace and Nobel Peace Prize and resolution, which I think we need more than ever. If you agree, share this video. I love you. Beautiful and amazing human beings. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.